if you apply to a job without that experience, it's more difficult for you to get in. So an internship is very, very important.
Very good.
So very, very good. I like how you explain that. And I want you to reach out to Dice Gamble, if you have time, right? I want you to
Uh-huh.
reach out because I think you need to teach a basic class on writing. Because I
Okay.
think the
Yes.
way that you explained the
Yes.
purpose of the internship, because with our kids today, there's a big difference between the youth today and the youth of my day, right?
Mhm.
And the big difference is we want microwave. I heard you use a word a couple times, and you said the word patience. And
Yes.
our young people don't have patience,
No, they don't.
right? Rome is not built overnight.
Right.
And although you have Guitar Center now enables anybody to be a producer, but anybody can't be a producer, right?
Mhm.
You can buy the equipment, but you really can't
Uh,
become a visionary musically.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
if we unplug that piano from the wall and
Mhm.
unplug your computer, can you still write a song? If the power shut down, can
Mhm.
you walk over to that analog piano and write out a song, and then somebody's going to pay you 50 grand for in G sharp or G minor,
Mhm.
right? Or E
Mhm.
flat or B flat. Can
Mhm.
you write? Can you do it and get that $50,000 check? So
mm,
I want you to talk about the importance of patience because you use
Oh
that a couple of
yeah.
times, and I've
Yeah.
seen you. I've been seeing I'll be in the shadows, and I'm kind of looking at it. I don't really say too much, but because everything is time and everything. But I want you to talk about that patience. Talk about that. Why is that important? Like why?
Listen, it took over 10 years for these opportunities to open up for me.
wow.
So if that's not patience, then I don't know what is. And way before, I've been married to my husband for 14 years. October 14th will make 15 years. And way before I met my husband and we started dating, I was doing music. Remember, I told you I've been writing music since I was 12.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's patience. I was 21 and I felt like, man, I'm the only female in Brooklyn doing this thing like this. Like I was patting myself on the back, like, man, I'm dope. And let me tell you something. When I can show you pictures and video, when I was 21, oh my gosh, like you talking about Eminem rapping fast and just the lyrics and the flow. I was like at that amazing level where it was unstoppable for me. And the problem was that I didn't have a manager. I didn't have anybody like teaching me about the industry. And so, I'd have my moments where I'm doing it, but then I'm not doing it. And then I'm doing it again, and then I'm not doing it. And
Right.
so it wasn't until I was 21 that I was like, I got to take this thing seriously when I traveled overseas to South Africa. But patience is key. Everybody that quits without waiting on these opportunities will never realize the opportunities in music because in order for a lot of people to get put on, they had to be patient. They had to keep going even when the doors were shut on them. And but yeah, it's very important for people to just keep doing it, keep perfecting yourself, and that one day something is gonna open up. If you're in the right place at the right time and you're doing what you should be doing.
There you
Well,
go. Well said. Hey, I mean, you dropping some nuggets here, and hopefully, you all out there are paying attention. Yeah, patience is the key for success. There's a saying when preparation beats opportunity, I think,
hard
or
work or preparation meet hard work opportunity. But hey,
Yeah, yeah,
success.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Exactly,
and if
exactly.
you notice something about in the box, we just don't just pick anybody to come on in the box because in the
Mhm.
box is a creative show. It's a show to teach people how to. In order to teach somebody how to do something, you got to know something, right?
Right.
And then we want to help artists to expand. And that's the thing that I love about everything you just talked about because you're teaching, and if they're listening, right? You said it
Mhm.
took 10 years,
Mhm.
right? There's a time span, not 2 years. You said 10 years.
Mhm.
And you saying it took 10 years for you to really get real opportunities, that means you have to practice and you have
Yes.
to you
Work.
have to still work with no lights on you You have to still work
Mhm.
without getting paid.
Mhm.
You still have to work without any recognition,
Mhm. Mhm.
because the people that are willing to give you the treasures, and what she's doing right now, to you guys, if you're just not watching, she's giving you treasures, because I see a lot of shows, but I don't hear a lot of people, man, talk about writing, because writers feel left out. A lot of writers feel left out. Besides the
Mhm.
writers that got on,
Right.
Mhm.
they are writing songs, because I had several people, man, that they want to write, they want to write songs, and the thing is you start on your own. When I would meet rappers, and this is what I learned from just working in mainstream music,
Mhm.
when they would actually decide to work with a rapper, they'll want to know, how many songs have you written. If you hadn't had at least 3,000 songs,
Mhm.
they they wouldn't even want to talk to you, right? And then
Mhm.
being able to have those lyrics in your head. A lot of people write music and they don't memorize it. You got to go
Right.
back. How can you have 1,000 songs and you can't have them in your head? You're gonna go back and you got to pull out a book. And when you're at the microphone, oh, I got a song about this. If you're a real rapper, you're supposed to already have your songs in your head.
Mhm.
When you write it, you memorize it. So
Mhm.
I said all that to say, in that span of 10 years, you've been practicing. You haven't had no opportunity. So that means you had to find a job
Mhm. Mhm.
to pay bills
Yes.
before you got a call from Spike Lee, or before you could get any type of other situations. But talk to the independent artists about having perseverance and working behind the curtain when nobody's watching you, when nobody care about you, when
Mhm.
nobody know you,
It's good.
right? And you
Mhm.
broke,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You struggling.
Uh-huh.
Talk about that.
Well, first of all, I gotta say this. Any successful artist will know that you gotta endure a lot of, falls. A lot of negative stuff is gonna happen to you. And it'll either make you stronger and make you want to keep going, or it'll make you stop doing music. Music is not for the faint at heart, especially gospel music.
It's good.
Because the main thing is ministry. And anytime you say you a Christian hip hop artist, and you're involved with the world, and you trying to be on Sway, or you trying to be on ABC TV. People like, why are you pushing that Jesus? They don't want to hear Jesus. So you now, as an artist, have to say, well, how can I frame my writing so that I can, in a sneaky way, hide Jesus in there, so they don't really think I'm gospel and I'm hip hop, so I could get in that place and then let my light shine. Because this is the thing, when you're new to Christian hip hop, you just want to be like John 3:16, everything. Jesus, Jesus, everything. Jesus, Jesus, everything. And then it sounds like that. It sounds very green. And then after a while, you're like, okay, I don't have to say John 3:16 all the time in order for people to be drawn to Christ. You grow as an artist, but you have to get beyond defeat, get beyond closed doors, get beyond people telling you you're whack. If somebody says your music is whack, that's for you to take and get back in the studio and rework it and retweak it so it doesn't sound whack. When I first started, I've had major people in CHH tell me, man, that sound is terrible. And you know what? It crushed me. It crushed me, but it made me a better person. And that's what helped me to persevere. I would run home and I'd cry. Of course I cried, because us females, we're emotional people. But I took that and it really strengthened me. And I said, you know what? The next batch of music that I'm gonna release is going to be way better than the first. My production quality is going to be better. My writing's going to be better. I'm gonna be more wise with the feature selections, the beat selections, and so many things that are involved. And so when it comes to perseverance, you're gonna have to figure out how to deal with people telling you no, and people not wanting to put you on. That's the only way that you can persevere, because everybody that's found success has had to fail several times before they got to that place. And throughout the 10 years, I failed so many times. I've written songs that I was like, why did I do that? Why did I record that? After the fact, you're like, why did I do that? And you don't realize that it's crazy, or it's whack until the fact that we all have to go through that in order to get to a certain place. And so if you have thin skin, you might want to quit now.
That's
But if
good.
you have thick skin, let's get it. Let's keep working at it. Let's keep pressing forward. And that's the only way that you can become successful while persevering. And I believe that as Christians, in order to persevere, we have to stay close to God. Because I've had so many nights where I was like, God, why am I doing this? Why you got me doing this music? Why you got me spending all this money and they still don't want to play my music? That's a part of the ministry. This ministry is not meant for the faint at heart, because we're dealing with the enemy's territory. Believe it or not, this is the enemy's territory, and we as Christians are trying to take it back. Because if we go back to the Bible, Satan was the lead worshiping angel. This is Bible now. Satan is the lead worshiping angel. And we have to know this as music ministers. And he said to himself, why is it that God is getting all this praise and this glory? I want the praise for myself. And that's when everything changed. And so with music, our perspective has to change. And we have to realize that we're not doing it for fame, for self-glory. We're doing this to lift Christ up. And the more we perfect our craft and the more we work on it, the better it is to, the world, and the more opportunities will be open to us. And one of the things that you mentioned, what was it? It slips my mind. I guess I'll remember after the fact. But yeah, I think I've said a lot where it comes to perseverance there. But just keep going, just keep going. And if anybody wants, advice or help, I'd be willing to help. I'm always looking to help, and mentor young people that are now getting into the music industry.
Ron, what you was going to say, bro?
Yeah, definitely. Persevere in your craft because as DJs, we have a standard that we have to that we bring quality music because we're trying to keep listeners. And if your music is whack, it's just like, look, no offense, but I can't play this because look at what I'm already playing. It has to measure up to those standards. I had to tell an artist, that that he should have somebody else sing the hook or whatever because that's kind of messing up the song. And needless to say, I haven't heard from him, but it is what it is. That's why you just said earlier, you have to develop thick skin in this game. I think that should be a word that should be used a lot more in whenever somebody's talking about music, thick skin. Because
And you know what else I want to add? This is now I remember what it is. You talked about notes. You talked about singing in a certain range. Artists, how are we artists in today's time and we don't understand notes? We don't understand harmonies. These are basic music things that we need to understand. Even if you're a rapper, if Sony comes and says, I need you to sing a hook, are you able to sing a hook and sing it in your voice? Do you know that you're an alto, soprano, tenor, bass? Have you even heard of these terms? These are all musical terms, excuse me. So we got to understand the fundamentals of music. We got to understand what a harmony is. I've spent all days, like my husband, Mr. C, has had me in the studio all day hitting the right note. And he'd be like, nah, that's not the soprano. You got to go back and do it. And I'm like, man, I get mad at him sometimes, but you know what? You got to stand for excellence. And if that means being in the studio all day, redoing it until the notes come out right, then you redo it. Because when a person like Spike hears it, he's going to hear the right notes and he's going to say, I'm putting this on my movie.
So I like what Keith just said. I want to talk about this for a sec. He said, I keep saying to myself, I'm preparing for rain, waiting on God to open the floodgate for me. Until then, I keep preparing for the rain.
Amen.
Now listen, when I had to do it, I had to preach a couple of weeks back, and I was studying, and I preached on Noah. Noah, God didn't send the rain until Noah was 800 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that? Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
He told Noah that he was going to send the flood, but he didn't send it till Noah was 800 years old. Now, we live 150 years. We live 120 years. I don't know about a little 150.
Mhm.
But can you imagine God tell you He's gonna do something, but He's not gonna do it? And in my mind, basically, He's saying, I'm gonna do something way past your death, right?
Yeah.
800. When I read that, because I know Noah lived it, but we don't live 800 years. But the revelation I got from that was, man, God, hey, I couldn't even wrap my mind around you waiting. You know how hard it is to wait for a year,
Right.
I
2 years,
know. I
5 years,
know.
but 800 years before God performed His word,
Wow. That's
right?
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy.